India arrests 83-year-old activist and Jesuit priest who was helping indigenous people fight mining corporates on terrorism charges. Not gonna lie, this headline was a roller coaster of assumptions/expectations for me. This is something I'm very worried about, corporation getting protected by terrorism laws when those companies are doing egregious BS. It is like the Extinction Rebellion is a just movement but governments the world over are calling them terrorists. What BS, the real terrorists are the executives burning the planet down to pump share prices. Oh man, I only wish I could be an active terrorist at that age. I'll probably be in a home or long dead. Exact thing is happening in Australia. They use police to violently suppress protests and even tried to convict one on terrorist charges. Can't find the article now, but it's why the term terrorist has nearly no meaning now. Terrorist now means anyone that holds an opinion contrary to the ruling party and feels threatened by. No longer just people that hack heads off in public or drive trucks through crowded marketplaces. Corporations are always protected by the government, nothing new there. They're working hand in hand. The politician gets a nice bonus for the election campaign and a cushy job once they retire. Crazy how cheap politicians can be bought for. These are companies that are operating on a loss. Like the logging company wrecking forests for wood chips and is losing millions each year. Or the oil company looking to wreck the Kimberleys for wealth that won't be in our pockets. Pissed off by it all. I imagine it's the same thing in India when Nestle/PepsiCo were stealing water from the communities and leaving them with an environmental disaster to clean up. If the government in control doesn't like you, you might be a terrorist. Jeff Foxworthy. Jesuit priests, God's Marines. I love sorting by controversial on posts that criticize India. It's like Trumpers, but with even worse English and much more mind gymnastics. Is it just me, or is evil winning more and more often these days? The ruling party hates anyone going against the system. They've helped capitalist cronies get away with so much. Jailed the dissenters. India is steamrolling into becoming a totalitarian state. In Daughters of Destiny on Netflix, one of the featured girls is from a Dalit community that suffers from this problem. It's their ancestral land and a mining company just shoved them out of the way. They work and live on/in a mine. Looks like granite or marble. Expect this thread to be raided by some nationalist subreddits. This is the same government that arrested a 9-year-old for protesting. https://twitter.com/licipriake. That's how thin-skinned they are to any criticism. Edit, here's an article, https://thuire. In/right/climate activist Licipriake Jamarov Seth detained, about it, my country is getting burnt from the inside. Things weren't rosy with the previous government, but the only thing that worried us back then was corruption. But we were still growing fast, we had secular ideas in the masses, we had freedoms and rights, we survived the financial crisis that crippled the world. Now, corruption seems to be an afterthought, extremism and dictatorship seems to be the end goal. This government has no ethical or moral boundaries, freedoms and rights are trampled upon every day, journalists getting killed on the streets, public lynchings are in the news, religious divide is reaching its boiling point. Decades of work undone in just a few years. The ideas of unity in diversity which I grew upon seem so distant now. I am not surprised. In India, law enforcement agencies can arrest anyone under the charges of terrorism or sedition, taking away all democratic rights. Many such activists are already in jails without any means and hope for justice. Sounds about right for an authoritarian regime. India is under their own populist leader who's also stoking nationalism and Hindu populism. Some of the same elements Gandhi fought against. Also, the civilian police system is set up to serve at the behest of the governing body. Edit, meant governing party. This is definitely completely fucked up. I hope it gets more mainstream attention. These kind of stories will just become more and more common. The eroding of confidence in media worldwide is all part of the bigger plan. These authoritarians and big corporate regimes are making their move right now. If you fight against them, you'll be painted out to be something you are not, and the disinformation machines in place will rise up an army of suckers who will buy the lies hook, line and sinker. Fun times. I'm starting to think attention spans and education have been systematically eroded for the last 30 plus years just for this very moment too. Like it is all working out so cohesively that it is just scary. Nothing new. A friend who is a journalist recently went north, up, to report on Hatharas rape case, along with two colleagues, working for different news outlets. Since the local government has restricted meeting the victims, she had her tongue cut out and spine broken during rape and died soon after. All three of them were arrested on terrorism charges. And regarding the rape, police locked the family in their house and cremated her body in the middle of night in a field, and is claiming no rape occurred. Dude, our police arrested a 9-year-old climate activist the other day. Fuck this country. Watch India's descent into fascism in real time. Was he doing any destructive violent things? Canada is against the Mi'kmaq Nation in Nova Scotia over fishing rights. Wow. They arrest the native while the whites burn the native fishing boats. Taking a lesson from the USA and the water rights and pull pipeline protests. I'm flashing on the Nazis arresting 84-year-old Casper ten Boom for helping Jews. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/Casper_10_boom #arrest_an_death. Meanwhile, the US arrests citizens planning to overthrow the government and kidnap governors as Facebook group members. This thread is gonna go down so fast. Hell, the cyber armies of China or even Russia got nothing compared to the one we currently got in India. Edit. Some good identifiers. 1. Projecting doubt about source. Parroting the official line. Marking any dissenters or objecting groups as terrorists. What about, insert any other group/person. 5. Playing the victim card. Let him be, he was doing something that needs to be changed. So sad to see big business bullying those they deem unimportant. Of course, what do you expect under a Nazi-ruled government? In India, if you help indigenous, Dalit and Muslim people or raise voice for them, Modi Gov will likely put UAPA, NSA, or sedition charges on you. Modi is a Trump ass kisser. What a disgrace. Modi is another Orban. It's like India tries to compete with China on which country can be shittier. The country of India still has native tribes. He trekked to remote tribal villages to inform them of their rights. He told them how mines, dams and townships were being built without their consent, and of how they had been deprived of land, often with no compensation. He regularly wrote articles on how big corporations were taking over tribal land for factories and mines. Damn. He has survived a bout of cancer and 3 surgeries. His hands shake uncontrollably, doctors have not been able to make a diagnosis yet, and food is always served to him. He sips his favorite tea through a straw from a cup placed in front of him. A few years ago, he participated in a march to protest against a spate of lynchings, trying to hold a placard with his shaking hands. Such is his spirit and commitment, said Suraj Dutta, a local activist. Holy fucking shit. A terrorist whose hands shake uncontrollably. Should I be afraid? Will he bomb the US? I am already afraid. While I personally left the Catholic Church as a believer in general, I walked away with a profound respect and fear of the Jesuits. Referred to as God's Marines, the refuse a direct oath to the Church or Pope but rather take an oath to their order and its head. The amount of dedication and study it requires to become a Jesuit is insane. If I remember correctly, it requires 10 plus years or study, research, and practice before becoming a full Jesuit. Most are in the teaching and sciences, especially deep within physics research, but others obviously choose other areas. They are relentless and passionate and will dig in when they know they are right. God help the bastards who think they can fight the Jesuits.